So stand by. We're going to be getting back to you. Let's walk over, take a look at Missouri. This has been, at least many considered it to be a battleground state with 11% of the vote in. George W. Bush with 52% of the vote. John Kerry with 48%. Only 11% of the precincts reporting. You're looking at the state very closely for a specific reason, Jeff.
I am indeed. There is a rule in Missouri called the 6% rule, and it applies to St. Louis County. Now, that is not the city of St. Louis, which, as you might expect, rolls in huge majorities for Democrats. It is this part, a suburban county. And the rule in Missouri is if a Democrat wins St. Louis County by 6% or more, the Democrat likely carries the state. Under 6%, the Republican carries it. Here's what's interesting. With 40% of the vote in St. Louis County, John Kerry is running apparently exactly 6% ahead of President Bush. Now, this is a state that the Kerry campaign effectively pulled out of 3 weeks ago. I was told by one of their top advisors, we just don't think we have the horses to compete in Missouri. And if, in fact, this state runs really, really close, and John Kerry winds up losing Missouri with its 11 electoral votes, Democrats may look at this as a golden opportunity that they, in effect, conceded away. We don't know whether that 6% rule will hold. We just point to it as a potential straw in the wind, Wolf and Lauren.
That's why he's so wise.
He's a smart guy.
He makes you think.
He's got those little nuggets there. Jeff, we'll be getting back for some more wisdom shortly. In the meantime, let's bring in the Senate Majority Leader, Bill Frist, joining us from Bush headquarters in Washington. Mr. Leader, thank you very much. Give us your sense, how you feel right now, what you see happening across the country.
Well, you know, as I've looked at the Senate races, I'm very, very upbeat. We're going to pick up seats in the Republican Party. I'm confident. Right now, you can feel the atmosphere here as we get information from around the country that the president's going to do very, very well. About an hour and a half or 2 hours ago, people felt a little bit guarded inside. Now people are very excited. They feel the momentum coming in from around the country.
Do you think, Senator Frist, that you're going to win this tonight, or is it still too close to call?
You know, I think we are going to win it tonight just because you feel the momentum. A lot of information is being fed in here like it is with you, but the excitement that you feel, we're going to pull it off. And again, with the president winning, us picking up 1 or 2 seats possibly in the United States Senate, it'll give us a real clear direction of how to move America forward.
Senator, the key states of Pennsylvania and Ohio and Florida, which one of those states do you think the president has the biggest problem in right now?
Well, Pennsylvania. I feel pretty good about Ohio right now. Both the phone calls we're getting in from around the state as well as the returns itself. Florida obviously looks very good at this point. Pennsylvania I'm still concerned about, but if we can take Florida and we can take Ohio, we'll do it.
Will this country, no matter who wins this, come together?
Yes. I mean, you know, right now you're seeing a heated election, both sides, a lot of partisanship. Afterwards, and I say this as the majority leader of the United States Senate, we will come together. We will govern. We will address the issues of the war on terrorism, of the economy, of creation of jobs. I can promise you that after we get through tonight or the next day, whenever these elections are over, we'll pull together to govern. And of course, we'll be governing with Republican principles, but reaching out across the aisle to pull everybody together.
You are friends with Senator Daschle. Is that kind of mixed emotions if he's in trouble for you? I know, as a minority leaders, you have to get along in a sense.
Well, we do. You know, it's been interesting. Even during the campaign, people have tried to pit one of us against the other. And in truth, we are good friends. I admire him tremendously because he's a very effective leader for the other side of the aisle, the Democrats. So obviously we don't agree all the time, but I do have a real affection for him. He's been a very effective communicator, a very effective leader for the Democrats. On the other hand, John Thune is the person who I can work with most closely in moving America forward.
You may be friends with Senator Daschle, Senator Frist, but that didn't stop you from going to South Dakota and campaigning for John Thune, which is traditionally not something a majority or minority leader is supposed to do against his colleague.
True.
But it's been, you know, people say, well, tradition, people haven't done that before. But in truth, I care about America. I care about empowering individuals and moving America forward, of being tough on the war on terrorism, of supporting our military, of making sure seniors have prescription drugs. So I was there campaigning for John Thune, who agrees with every one of those. And unfortunately, his opponent who happens to be the Democratic leader, does not. So clearly I'm going to fight for our principles and do everything I can to get John Thune in the United States Senate.
Senator Bill Frist, the Majority Leader of the U.S. Senate, watching this together with all of us. Thanks very much for joining us from the Bush-Cheney headquarters in Washington, D.C. We'll take another quick break. Much more coverage coming up. You thought it was close 4 years ago. It's still very, very close here tonight. But we're sticking around. We hope you will as well.
CNN's coverage of America Votes 2004.
In the heart of Times Square, NASDAQ, the market site. It's our CNN election headquarters. On this night, we're watching all of the races coming in. They're coming in all of the time, all the races, clearly the state races for the presidency, for the Senate, for the House, for the governor races as well. Our senior White House correspondent, John King, is watching this. He's over at the White House. John?
And Wolf, the president is watching well, and we're about a minute away from hearing his remarks, optimistic remarks from the White House residents. Just a short time ago, the White House travel pool, a small group of reporters brought up to see the president, his father, and some close aides, family, and friends watching the election returns. We will hear from the president in just a moment, but Mr. Bush will tell us here and tell the American people, especially those in states with the polls still open, that he is optimistic. So the president watching the results tonight, and they are waiting, of course, to decide when and where he might give a big speech to supporters. He obviously wants to know the results before he does so. So they did decide, as the polls are still open in some states, to bring reporters up to the residence of the White House to get a glimpse of him watching the returns. And again, they have operations throughout the White House, watching monitors, working the phones to supporters in key states. The president obviously wanting to offer his perspective to us, and we'll hear it in just a moment, Wolf.
You know, John, earlier the president didn't seem overly enthused. At least some people were making that conclusion. Right now he's feeling much better, clearly, and he wants to go out there, make a statement to get those voters who have not yet voted, especially in the Midwest, in the western part of the country. He's going to need all of these states, the president of the United States, allowing, as you point out, these reporters, the camera crews, to come in. Let's listen.
Barney, have you got something to say? Barney. Barney. Don't let him come any closer. Come here, Barney.
Barney. Oh, Barney. Come on, Barney.
How's it going, Mr. President? We're very upbeat, thank you.
We're going to get a winner tonight?
I believe I will win. Thank you very much. I feel good about it. I'm glad to be able to watch the returns here with my family and friends, and it's going to be an exciting evening.
It is an exciting evening. John King, that goes without saying. Tell our viewers who was there, who has the president brought into the residence to watch these returns come in?
Well, you saw the 41st president of the United States, his father, George Herbert Walker Bush, his mother, Barbara Bush, the first lady, two of the president's brothers on hand, other family members as well, some of his wife, Laura Bush's friends, and also some friends from his home in Midland, Texas. Now, a bit of psychology at play here. Wolf, remember, Nevada and New Mexico, key states for this president. The polls are still open there. Colorado, a state that he has believed he will win in that state, but there are Senate races on the western part of the United States. Mr. Bush being both a good Republican and an optimistic candidate for his own chances. I'd say anecdotally, they're getting good results. Now, of course, Ohio is the state we're all watching, and that is one where they say they're getting good results from the people on the ground. So you see the president tonight saying he believes he will win, and that is the yellow room in the residence there. He believes he will win. Aides say the mood here has improved as the night has gone on, as they've watched the actual results come in and matched them up against the early exit polls they reviewed. They think they're doing better. They say they're still optimistic here, but obviously a few key states for the president still in play. That's why he's watching so closely.
All right, John King at the White House. I suspect that John Kerry is watching as well, as advisors are watching, and presumably won't be long before we see a camera crew go into his room where he's watching these results. He'll want to do what the president is doing as well. John King at the White House, thanks very much. We're ready to make another projection. Nebraska, earlier we had said 4 of its 5 electoral votes would go for the president. Now we can project that all 5 of Nebraska's electoral votes will go for the president, with 7% of the vote in. He has 62% of the vote, 37% for Kerry, 1% for Ralph Nader. Nebraska, like Maine, one of those states that can split its electoral votes. Paul Azan is standing by with the Crossfire gang. Paula, pick it up. Let the Crossfire guys weigh in on this very dramatic night.
Well, that's about all we've been doing, actually, for the last 15 minutes or so. A lot of mathematical calculations. There are a bunch of different scenarios that could get either candidate to an electoral victory. We've talked a lot about the candidate needing to win 2 of the 3, Pennsylvania, Ohio, or Florida, but James Carfield thinks it's even more simple than that. How do you see it?
I'm like Jethro. I've been doing a lot of ciphering here. And the way that I cipher this whole thing is it comes down, if Ohio and Florida split, the math becomes very, very difficult for the president. If the president carries Ohio and Florida, then the math comes very, very difficult, or the ciphering, if you will, comes very, very difficult for Senator Kerry. That is what this whole thing boils down to. And the ciphering, you can figure it this way, you can figure it that way. Senator Kerry needs a split, at least a split in Ohio and Florida. The president needs to win them both. I'm not saying it's impossible either way, but the scenarios get dicey.
Let me suggest how President Bush can win with a split. That if he wins Florida, loses Ohio, but also wins Wisconsin, where the Catholic vote, I understand, is going for the Republicans, wins New Mexico, where I think he's looking good, but loses Iowa, which is very close. My calculations come out to 269 to 269, and the House of Representatives.
Oh, say it ain't so, Bob.
We are ciphering away.
Let me get off the hook on one thing, though. I said my sources have said Jim Bunning was dead.
Of Kentucky.
It's Kentucky senator, the great baseball pitcher. Right, he was behind with 2/3 of the vote out, 5 points behind. Now with 90% of the vote in, he's 20,000 votes ahead. Looks like Bunning's going to win.
Right.
That would have been a great gift for the Democrats to win that seat.
Let's not bury the 269 tie lead here. What is the possibility of that happening?
Well, I mean, Bob has it's plausible. It's plausible. But now let me throw one more fly into the ointment, and that is, this will shock you, Florida doesn't seem to have its electoral act together.
Oh, really?
The Kerry campaign, I was on the phone to their boiler room in Florida, and as I said before, the same guy who ran Florida for Gore is now running it for Kerry, and they tell me that the absentee votes in Miami-Dade, in Broward County, and in Palm Beach County, 3 of the biggest Democratic counties in that state, may not be counted and reported until Thursday. Now, that's 250,000 votes.
No, wait, and the deadline is Thursday.
It has to be reported by noon Thursday. But even in 2000, where everything went wrong, they counted all the absentee votes on election night. The only ones they didn't get to were overseas military ballots, about 4,000 of them that trickled in late.
So what are you implying here?
They're even worse than they were 4 years ago.
I know, you're not assigning an ulterior motive or a conspiracy theory
No,
here.
I'm not.
Just the fact that you don't think they were organized enough to get this
There's plenty of time for that, but no.
Well, there is plenty of time.
It seems to be simple. Well, who knows what it is, but it's outrageous that they can't count the votes. And the word I got was, well, gee, there were more absentee ballots than we were prepared for.
Well, I mean, that's,
is there any excuse for that?
There's no, I mean, death penalty too strong, but
that?
someone ought to go to jail. Seriously, I mean, I think this is an invitation to lawyers, for one thing. I mean, this is where we're going to see, lawyers bad for America, definitely bad for the processes. We're going to see the most lawyers in Florida. And there is absolutely no excuse for it. 250,000 votes, it stops the process entirely. You cannot call the election until you find out what those votes are. Even if, they're likely to be Democratic votes, you don't know. And I mean, there's after 4 years, I mean, this is very much the parties tonight. I need my dry cleaning. That's it. I need it now.
But don't you think because of the scrutiny that comes to the year 2000, they will find a way to bring in truckloads of people? If the problem is opening the envelope,
bring them up
those
here.
people
Send
aboard
a plane. Send a CNN corporate jet. These people are counting for us right now, man. How hard is that?
There has to be another explanation for this.
Yeah.
It can't be that you're sitting there knowing everything, that the eyes are on you. You know the election was going to be November 2nd. You've been knowing it since the last election. There has to be an explanation. I just refuse to believe that there's not something extraneous that we don't know. Because if the facts are, if we hear them, they're right. It does. It's going to look silly.
Silly? Yeah, at very least.
One of the things we haven't had a chance to talk a whole lot about are some of the what are called the sliver issues to some that are driving people to the polls in record numbers this election. How do you see that arc turning out?
There's been this huge tension, particularly in Ohio, where we're now turning our attention between the economic voters and the social-based voters. And the truth is, it's usually the same person. You know, the same guy who's likely to have a union card and as well as going to have an NRA card there as well. And with the gay marriage ban on the ballot in Ohio, social conservatives coming out in droves. At the same time, Ohio has lost 230,000 jobs since Bush came in. So the Democrats have been pushing that economic button. It looks like the Republicans have done almost as well, or maybe equally well, on those social conservative issues.
The striking thing about one of these